and welcome back to the United Stand. Today I am joined by Fabrizio Romano. Fabrizio, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you as always.
Well, let's get straight into it because Manchester United fans, I think they have a lot of questions and hopefully you can give us some sort of answers. But the first thing I wanted to ask you was on Erik Ten Hag's situation as Manchester United manager. What is the current update from Ineos? And also, I wanted to ask you from Erik Ten Hag's side as well, because the longer this goes on, surely himself is feeling maybe a little bit sort of disrespected in terms of how long this has gone on for?
Look, for sure it's a strange situation. Let me say that is maybe the first time I say something like this. So it's something new. We have to respect Ineos because they are trying to do their best. The version of Ineos is that they are trying to assess all the possible options, including keeping Erik Ten Hag at the club. And so they believe that having contacts with people close to other managers is part of the process to have the best decision possible for Manchester United. It's very clear that Erik Ten Hag has accepted this so far because it's already more than 2 weeks and they are still waiting for a final decision, a final answer from Ineos. At the same time, it's something really new. Let me say that I never saw this kind of long process to make a decision on a manager with the manager waiting. So I really hope for Manchester United that this week everything will be clarified, also because they need to show also some respect to Erik Ten Hag in terms of timing. But I'm also sure that Erik Ten Hag and people close to him are just waiting for Manchester United to decide. They accepted this process and now it's just on the club. So we can only wait for them.
In terms of talking to other managers, obviously you give us a great update last night around Thomas Tuchel and the situation with him. He's obviously ruled out of the race now to be Manchester United manager. There's been a lot of talk about Gareth Southgate. Have Ineos, to your knowledge, approached Southgate and spoke to his representatives?
Look, Southgate is for sure one of the managers they know very well and appreciate in terms of human relationship, I would say. Even before they became the new owners of Manchester United, people at Ineos always had a good relationship with Gareth Southgate. That's why I think he's always around the media and the links for Manchester United job, because there is a human relationship and a good friendship between people at Ineos and Gareth Southgate. At the moment, I'm not aware of anything concrete or advanced with him. So it's still something that is not, I would say, imminent, because the full focus of Gareth Southgate is on the Euros, is on England, is not on a club job. And that's why at the moment the situation is still quiet. This relationship is real, so there is a very good friendship between people at Ineos and Gareth Southgate. Let's see if they will decide to approach him. At the moment, I'm not aware of anything really concrete or advanced yet. What I'm sure about is about Thomas Tuchel, as you mentioned, because with Tuchel they had a direct meeting. It's the reality. What Bild reported yesterday is the reality. There was a meeting. It was an open meeting where Tuchel presented his ideas and Ineos presented what they really want for Manchester United manager Erik Ten Hag or a new one. And after this meeting, the idea of Thomas Tuchel at the moment is not to take the job, is not to continue in talks with Manchester United, and is to take a break. So I'm 100% sure that as of today, Thomas Tuchel has no intention of becoming new Manchester United manager, but it's showing us that they are making contact with other managers, and so the situation remains 100% open.
And then in terms of Roberto De Zerbi and Pochettino, is it the same sort of thing? Are we speaking to them as well? How likely is it that we could be entering into meetings with them as well as potential options?
What I heard is that no meeting took place with Pochettino and Roberto De Zerbi so far. So I'm not aware of direct contacts between De Zerbi and Pochettino and Manchester United. Then let's see what happens this week. For sure, these are two managers who are available on the market, who would love to continue in Premier League football, both of them. Roberto De Zerbi priority is Premier League football. In the contract of Roberto De Zerbi at Brighton, there is kind of exit clause because, of course, he left the club. But when they agreed on the termination of the contract, Brighton still owe something around 5-6 million euros in case any club will go for Roberto De Zerbi this summer. So let's see what happens there. Also in terms of the clause, for Mauricio Pochettino is different because Pochettino is free to decide his future whenever he wants. And he also wants to be back in Premier League as soon as possible in case he has the opportunity. So they're waiting to see what happens in the market, not just with Manchester United, also with other opportunities. But at the moment, I'm not aware of direct contacts. Then let's see after this Thomas Tuchel story what's going to happen around Manchester United and if this week they will decide to make contact with some other manager.
Yeah, lastly, I just need to ask you on the manager situation before we move on to transfers. Is your feeling that this decision could be made soonish? I mean, no one really seems to know when, like, there's not a date on when this decision could be made, but do you feel like it could be made soonish, or do you think it could go on for another couple of weeks?
Look, the feeling was already for last week. Then I think this week could be really the crucial one to decide on Erik Ten Hag's future, at least. So to see if Ten Hag will continue or not.
Yeah.
This is probably the most important thing to clarify this week. I think the leak of the Thomas Tuchel story is not helping Manchester United in that sense, because obviously showing that you are meeting with another manager while you have your own manager still waiting to understand what's going to happen is probably something that was not expected, but it's the reality. It happened. And so let's see what Manchester United will communicate this week, but I expect them to make clarity soon over the position of Erik Ten Hag, and then to decide on the manager if they continue with him or if they go for a new one.
Interesting stuff. Manchester United fans will be waiting to hear the outcome. Getting very impatient now, but it's going to come soon, and hopefully that we'll get the decision that we want. We'll have to see on that. Thank you for giving us your information on that. And then moving on to transfers, I wanted to bring up Michael Olise. Last time we spoke, Manchester United and Chelsea are both in the race for Olise. It seemed like Chelsea were going to kind of steam ahead with that and potentially start negotiations. Where are Manchester United and Chelsea at in terms of the race to sign Olise in the summer?
Well, both clubs remain in the race, absolutely. Both clubs are still in the race and still interested in Olise. Both clubs made contact with people close to Olise to show their interest. But now I would say that Chelsea are in a different position because they have a new manager. They already signed a player like Tosin. They are really pushing on the market to make things happen as soon as possible. I mean, in July probably, because they want all the players to be ready in the preseason. Of course, it's going to be impossible to have all the new signings in the preseason, but Chelsea are planning to have as many as possible to join early in the market. And so Olise is a target for Chelsea, for sure, but also for Manchester United. So Man United have not left the race. They are still there. For sure, Chelsea, as I mentioned, are pushing a lot now, and they are in a different position in terms of timing. But I think it's still an open race. I see Chelsea at the moment really insisting, really pushing, because they consider Olise a fantastic player and they want to bring him in. But I also think that Manchester United are still fighting there. So let's see what happens in the next days. There are some discussions scheduled with both clubs to understand how they want to advance. But, for Manchester United to clarify the manager position is really important, because when you sit down with a player and you want to present your project, they want to know about the manager, they want to know about the technical project, they want to know about the system, they want to know about many things that depend on the manager. So to clarify the manager position is really important for Man United. That's why I think that Man United have to do it as soon as possible, also to present their projects to new players and be able to bring in new players.
Exactly, because you could be in a situation where, Chelsea can present their projects and Manchester United don't have that, and so Olise decides to go with Chelsea at early doors and you miss out on a target. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out, and it's something that a lot of Man United fans are actually concerned about in terms of how do you get players in when you don't have a manager to show them. So it's interesting that you brought up that point. Next up, I wanted to bring in potential strikers. Benjamin Sesko, obviously there's quite a few clubs interested in him. And then also there was a little bit of news coming out around Arsenal and Manchester United liking Joshua Zirkzee, but we've spoken on the show before and we've spoken about how it's quite likely he'll go to Milan. So updates on them two, please, if you can.
Yeah, for Zirkzee, this is a crucial week for AC Milan. Milan are the big favourites. Milan already informed Bologna that they want to trigger the release clause, 40 million euros for Joshua Zirkzee. So they are in very advanced talks with Bologna. It's not even needed because they will pay the clause. But they are in very advanced talks with the player. The player wants to join Milan. They already discussed the project. He would love to stay in Italy. They discussed the contract, the salary. Everything is almost okay on player side, waiting for the agreement with his agents. So Milan are now working on the agreement on the commission and the agreement with his agents. So the discussion is still ongoing on that one, but I see Milan as favourites. Then we will see what happens with English clubs, but the focus is absolutely on the negotiation between Zirkzee and Milan in this moment. And for Benjamin Sesko, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal. These are the three clubs in the race for Benjamin Sesko. But let me add once again Red Bull Leipzig, because as I said 2 weeks ago, Leipzig made an important proposal to Benjamin Sesko in terms of money, in terms of financial project, but also technical project. This is the crucial part. Leipzig are presenting him a project where he can be the star of the squad next season. Marco Rose, the manager, wants him to stay and to be the crucial player for Leipzig future. So they are really offering him an important contract and an important project. So Leipzig are still fighting to keep the player at the club. Chelsea, United and Arsenal are waiting for Benjamin Sesko to decide. I think he will decide soon. I don't see this saga going to July or August. I expect Benjamin Sesko to decide really soon, and so we will have soon a final answer on this story.
Yeah, that would be exciting. Do you think it's possible it could happen before the Euros? I mean, the Euros are right around the corner now.
I think it's a possibility. It really depends on the player. So we will see when the player will decide. But again, I see this story over in June. I don't see this story going to July or August. According to my information, he will decide soon. He doesn't want to have a long saga. And so also Leipzig and all the English clubs are waiting for the player to decide.
It's definitely an exciting prospect. Whoever does end up going for him, an exciting talent that's on the market. In terms of a midfielder for Manchester United, we spoke about the likelihood of Casemiro departing. We don't know what's happening with Amrabat yet. We'll have to wait and see on that. But Manchester United keep being linked to Joao Neves. I know that we've spoke about how high the price is and Benfica really being adamant on that. But, I mean, is it a real possibility that Manchester United could go for Joao Neves? And is there any other midfielders that you've heard that Manchester United are looking at?
Look, in terms of possibility, I think yes, because the player is still there. The position of Benfica is very clear. On records and off records, they keep repeating that they want 120 million euros or nothing. Their plan is not to sell the player this summer. So you have to go there and trigger the buy option, the buyout clause. So that's the point with Joao Neves. It's very clear from Benfica. Then we know sometimes in the market the situation can change. We saw the same situation, for example, with Enzo Fernandez and Chelsea. At the beginning of the market, it was only release clause. At the end, they negotiated around the close. So we never know what happens. And that was a January market, just 4 weeks. Now it's completely different. You have 3 months potentially to negotiate. So the interest from Man United is there for sure. Let me add also that Arsenal and Man City many times sent their scouts to follow this boy. So interest is there for sure around Joao Neves, but Benfica keep insisting on their position. They want the release clause or nothing. So it's not an easy one at all. What I can say is that Manchester United made contact with people close to Joao Neves in the recent weeks. They confirmed their interest in the player. They believe Joao Neves is a fantastic talent and is going to be one of the best midfielders in the world in the future. So the interest is genuine, is there, but at the same time is a complicated situation because of the financial package requested by Benfica. So I'm not sure it's going to be easy, but the interest is there for sure.
It would be a really exciting player to bring in for sure, but like you said, the price tag and Benfica's reputation for getting good money for their talents, it would be a very difficult one. On the centre-back situation, one, I wanted to ask you about Todibo. Obviously, we spoke about this and we spoke about, around 40 million it would cost and the connection with Nice. I mean, is there anything stopping that deal from happening? And then also Jared Branthwaite as well, obviously not going to the Euros now with Gareth Southgate in England, someone that Manchester United like, Everton in financial difficulty. I mean, what is the situation on both of them centre-backs for Manchester United?
Both remain on the list. I think what Man United are waiting to do is to understand who is going to be the manager, to decide together with the manager. For example, Todibo is a name that they already discussed with Ten Hag last summer. As I keep mentioning, he was top of the list to replace Maguire. Then Maguire ended up staying at Man United, but the idea was to replace Harry Maguire with Jean-Claude Todibo and was already approved by Ten Hag in that case. So I think if Ten Hag will stay at Manchester United, there is a good chance to see Todibo as favourite candidate for the new centre-back at Manchester United. Then if a new manager comes in, the situation could change with other candidates, including Branthwaite, who is still on the list, is still one of the players they really appreciate. They made already some contacts with people close to the player to understand more or less when Everton will clarify the final price tag for the player. So I think Todibo, of course, would be easier rather than negotiating with Everton for Branthwaite. But I also think that Manchester United are taking their time to understand who's going to be the manager. For sure, Todibo is there, Branthwaite is there. I keep also the name of Gleison Bremer, who is still appreciated at Manchester United, and they are aware of the situation with Juventus. The player could be available for something around 55, 60 million euros this summer, even if the release clause is only valid from next summer. But they know that it's possible to negotiate around that fee for this summer. So that's why Manchester United are working behind the scene on a centre-back, but before deciding, okay, this is the player we want, they're waiting to clarify the manager situation.
Interesting stuff. It does kind of make sense. And then on the left-back situation, we heard a lot around Zirkzee recently. I know we've been speaking about the left-back for a long time. I mean, is he someone that could come to Manchester United in the summer? And is there anybody else that you've heard of that we're looking at as well?
There are several candidates, not only Zirkzee, but Zirkzee is one of them. He's really appreciated, highly rated by Manchester United. United and Chelsea are the two clubs that have been monitoring this boy for months at Bournemouth. I can guarantee that Bournemouth will not make it easy. Bournemouth really want to keep the player at the club at least for one more season and maybe sell him in summer 25. So it's not going to be easy at all. But Man United have an interest. Man United already made some contact with people close to the player. He's one of the players they included in the list for that position. I can guarantee that also on the player side, in case Manchester United will decide to go strong for him, there would be an interest in joining Manchester United, even if they're not playing Champions League football next season. So that's not going to be an issue. Now it's on Man United. They have to decide if they really want to go for Zirkzee or not, and if they're decided to pay big money because, again, Bournemouth will not make life easy to any club approaching them for Milos Kerkez.
And then in terms of exits from Manchester United, you've got Jadon Sancho, who you put a report out yesterday about him leaving Manchester United, no matter who the manager is, and kind of the price tag United are looking for. Obviously, Mason Greenwood. I mean, how quickly do you think these exits could happen? Is that something Manchester United are planning for to happen quite quickly?
Yeah, that's their hope. At the moment for Greenwood, they are already in discussions with several clubs around Europe in different countries, really, with many, many clubs interested in Greenwood. I think Man United are waiting to understand which one is going to be the best proposal, the best financial package, but the idea remains to sell Mason Greenwood on permanent transfer this summer. So this is the mission, and same for Jadon Sancho. For Sancho, in terms of timing, I think it could take a bit longer because obviously the player was already with the hope to continue at Borussia Dortmund, but now Man United won £40 million and it's not going to be easy, I think, for Dortmund to pay that money. So Man United are also open to other possibilities, maybe in other countries, not only in Germany. So that's why Man United are waiting for the market to open for Jadon Sancho. But for sure, both players are expected to leave the club. This is not new, something that they already decided in February, March. They're looking for the best proposals, and they hope to make it happen as soon as possible because those money could be important to be reinvested on other positions.
Do you think they'd need to sell them first before buying Olise, or do you think, does it not matter, do you reckon?
I think it's not about that. It's going to be important also for other positions, but it's not just about one single player. It's more about the overall of the transfer market for Man United. To have that money would be really important.
Thank you very much for all the updates, Fabrizio. We really do appreciate it. Hopefully, next time we have you on, that we have some clarification around the manager situation and we can look more towards to more concrete targets with the manager in place to discuss them. But thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, and see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao. Bye.
Well, everyone, that was Fabrizio Romano with all the latest Manchester United updates. And the first thing that I would say is, honestly, I didn't want to talk about in the interview with Romano because obviously he's just here to come on and do a job and discuss and give his news on Manchester United. But what I wanted to give my opinion on, and as soon as kind of Romano was talking about it, was the situation with Erik Ten Hag. And I'm going to be completely honest. If I was Erik Ten Hag now, I'd feel so disrespected. It feels to me that the club don't know who they want as a manager, but they don't really want Ten Hag, and they're just going around kind of meeting different managers, thinking about different alternatives and thinking, you know what, if we can get him, that'd be great, but if we can't, then we'll stick with you, Erik, and we'll see how it goes. Like, as a manager, you don't want to feel like that. You don't want to feel like you are last resort. We're keeping you there just in case. Like, it's like having, it's like having a backup. You know, when people talk about, when you're going out with different people, then you kind of have a backup there. That's how it feels like with Erik Ten Hag right now. And it shouldn't be the case. I understand that he had a poor season in terms of football, in terms of coming 8th. But, he has won 2 trophies and he has made improvements at Manchester United. And he's done a lot of stuff with the youth and he's got a lot of promise. And to be treated in this way, for it to be going on for this long and for the news to come out around it as well, I think it's disrespectful. I thought it was disrespectful before the FA Cup final for it to come out then. And I think the Tuchel stuff has been disrespectful. I mean, you're out here meeting other managers for thorough meetings while your manager is back in Manchester off his holiday, just waiting to hear what's going to happen. I don't like that. And for me, as much as I want Ineos to do amazingly well, and I still have hope for that, I do think the first major decision they've had to make, which is a manager decision, I think personally it's been handled poorly. I'm going to be honest with you. And I think Ten Hag will end up staying, but I think the reason Ten Hag will end up staying is because there's no other options out there. I mean, it's slim pickings. The reality is they probably did want Tuchel as the first choice. They do like Southgate. We've been told that many times, and for everybody saying that, Manchester United and Southgate is just scaremongering, it's a myth. Romano was literally just said on the show that we do like Southgate. He's not aware of any concrete discussions yet, but we do like Southgate. There's a lot of people in the Ineos camp that like him. He's got admirers from inside Ineos. And then the Pochettino and the De Zerbi things, they seem quite quiet at the moment. So I think that the Pochettino stuff has been overhyped a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But we need to make a decision because, as you guys are already saying in the chat, which I think is so true, is you guys are already saying like we could miss out on Michael Olise because we don't have a manager decision. Romano, it came from the horse's mouth, and in terms of that is Romano, who is excellent around transfers. excellent, like top tier source. He said that Manchester United and Chelsea have both got meetings booked in with Michael Olise to discuss with the player and present their projects. Michael Olise has a release clause. United and Chelsea are both willing to pay the money. We're both willing to trigger it. The decision now rests on Olise because Palace is getting the money either way. Do I go with Chelsea or do I go with Manchester United? He is a boyhood Manchester United fan. Do you know how embarrassing it would be if he went to Chelsea when we've both got the money to put forward and we both want him? And the only reason that'll happen is that if we go into that meeting and we don't have a plan for the player because we don't know who the manager is. And it's like Romano said, Chelsea are going to go into that discussion with Olise saying we've got Maresca in, this is our plan, this is how we want to move forward. A lot of people disagreed with the sacking of Pochettino and they thought Chelsea moved really quickly in that. But you know what? They've made a decision and they've got Maresca in now and they've got a plan and they can present that project to the player. Manchester United, if they were going to meet with Olise now, what are they going to say? Well, we might have Ten Hag next season, but also, you know, we're thinking about a few other people as well. So join us. Like, it's not going to work. You need to present a manager to a player. You need to present a project. And the player's going to want to feel valued. The player's going to want to speak to the manager, I'm sure. The player's going to want to know that they're in the manager's plans. Like, Ten Hag, obviously, is signed off on Olise. We've heard that before. So if Ten Hag's a manager, Olise knows, you know, Ten Hag signed off on me. He likes me. I'm going to come in under Ten Hag and I'm going to get a real opportunity and this could be a great project for me. You know, if we get a different manager in that after we've bought Olise, they might not fancy him. I mean, I doubt it because Olise is a very, very good player. He's a quality player. I think he's going to come in and hopefully do really well if his injuries stay at bay. But to present that project to a player is massively important, and these talks are going to happen. These discussions are going to happen within the coming week. That is literally just said from Romano. So we need clarification on the Ten Hag decision. And what Romano did say is that the decision, we thought we were getting it last week. That's what a lot of people thought. This week, he says, I think he thinks it's really important that we get clarification, but he can't confirm it. He can't say absolutely we are, because at the moment, nobody really knows, and a lot of people are still in the dark about this. I mean, the Tuchel stuff got leaked. Yeah, it did. You know, things always leak from Manchester United, and I think Romano said that Ineos are probably getting quite frustrated that things are leaking out. But this is what happens when you're dealing with the biggest club in the world. Nothing ever stays a secret. So you've got to own these decisions and you've got to kind of accept the fact that things are going to go to press, things are going to go in the media, and you've got to kind of own that if that's the way that you're going about it. But that's the situation on that one. Also, what I thought was really interesting is the Sesko situation. Sesko is a real possibility for Manchester United. Obviously, get in the comments down below who you think he'll pick. Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United and Leipzig. Four teams that want Benjamin Sesko and are presenting a project to Benjamin Sesko. And Romano thinks he could make his decision before the Euros. And if he doesn't make his decision before the Euros, bear in mind the Euros literally starts this week, it definitely won't go into July and it will be resolved in June. You know, we're like 10 days into June now, so you know, you've only got another 20 days left there, quick maths. Like, this could happen very quickly in terms of Benjamin Sesko because he wants his future resolved. Again, when a player has a release clause, it's always like very easy. Whether Manchester United actually do the deal and the player's holding up the shirt probably won't happen, but in terms of his decision being made and what club he wants to progress into conversations with and progress into negotiations with over a contract and the club that he's going to pick, that could be decided very, very soon. Chelsea are obviously going to present their project, Arsenal as well, Manchester United and Leipzig. So out of them clubs, who is Sesko going to pick? And it's another situation where Manchester United have spoke to Sesko before. We have a relationship with Benjamin Sesko. We've nearly bought him for around 20 million. I think it was in 2021. We nearly bought him for around 20 million. Manchester United have been there. They have relations with his agents. But we're in a situation where, again, we're already on the back foot because we don't have Champions League and Arsenal do. And you're in a situation where you're bringing Sesko in to compete with Rasmus. Like, that is competition. Arsenal are in a situation where Sesko's going to come in and probably start. Havertz has done well, but let's be honest, like, Sesko's the out-and-out number 9. And you're in a situation where, you know, Arsenal have a full-on project that's up and running and very well developed. Manchester United can't, at the moment, present a manager. And this is really, it is a big hindrance when it comes to signings. It really is. So missing out on Sesko, okay, we might have missed out on him anyway because Arsenal are further ahead in their project than us. They've got Champions League football. But at the end of the day, not having a manager to present in your project is massive. And if we miss out on Sesko and Olise because of that, you are looking at the clubs and thinking, what are you doing? Like, you've had months to come to this conclusion. Why are we still doing that? Why are we risking missing out on really important signings? And that's a question that I think that needs to be asked, because it's confusing for me. It really is confusing for me. A lot of people in the chat having their say. A lot of people seem to be really frustrated with this situation now as well. Timothy Green says disrespectful to the manager, regardless of the manager was informed on the process. Steve says Sesko will be on tour with Arsenal or Chelsea before we've even signed a player. Be realistic, people. But the thing is, Manchester United could get that deal done. Like, it's a very highly likely situation that Sesko could turn around and decide to pick Manchester United. I mean, Man United are one of the biggest clubs in the world. We've got a huge reputation. Okay, yeah, we're not in the Champions League and we just finished 8th. I understand that. But Man United, the name still holds weight. Sesko's very early on in his career. You know, if you present a really good project to the player, apparently he was really interested in coming when we nearly signed him for 20 million as well. You present the project to him, that could be a deal that we've got across the line. That's the thing, that people are already trying to rule us out. If Chelsea can get these deals done, so can we. Chelsea are in the Conference League, by the way. Like, we're in the Europa League, they're in the Conference League. Okay, yeah, London is very attractive, but if I'm a player, I don't want to go into a squad where you're just another number. I mean, how many players have they got for each position? I mean, I wouldn't want to be a player walking into Chelsea right now. It doesn't seem like they know what they're doing, but they are ambitious. For me, if I was Sesko, it'd be between Arsenal and Manchester United. Obviously, the red tinted glasses would say United. Arsenal are further along in the project, but don't rule us out of that race. People say, exactly, like some AB says, stop dreaming about Sesko, United are broke. They're in that race, they're presenting a project. They are. But it's just what Sesko decides to choose. We are going to buy a striker this summer, like we are going to. Sesko, the price for him, for the potential is really good. So if we don't get him, again, questions do need to be asked. On expensive signings that I didn't think that we'd have a chance of getting, and I still don't think we have a chance of getting, but it is really interesting to see how this story develops, is Joao Neves. Mark was speaking about it on the morning show. I was listening to it earlier. And really interesting point that I took from Fabrizio Romano is Joao Neves, Manchester United have been in contact with Benfica within the last few weeks. We have been in contact with Joao Neves' camp within the last few weeks because Manchester United are very interested in Joao Neves. When we've already heard that Arsenal are interested as well. We know that. And again, I've always said Arsenal and Declan Rice, not Arsenal and Declan Rice, Declan Rice and Joao Neves in a midfield and Odegaard. Like Arsenal having Declan Rice, Joao Neves and Odegaard in a midfield scares the life out of me. I think it would be absolutely unbelievable, by the way. But Arsenal are in the race. City have been monitoring him as well. City obviously have the money. But Manchester United really do like the player, and they're trying to sort of negotiate with Benfica, but Benfica are like, we don't need to sell him this summer. You have to pay the release clause, which is around 105 million. Maybe you could negotiate it down a little bit, but why would Benfica do that? They always get a good price for their players. Joao Neves isn't going anywhere. He's 19 years old. He's only getting better. I mean, the release clause stands. They can still get the money for him next season as well, and they get to enjoy him for another year. Why would Benfica do that? They've just had 100 and odd million off Chelsea for Enzo Fernandez. They're in a good place. So Joao Neves, for me, I would love it if we went for him. We somehow managed to negotiate and get him. Other midfielders, I asked Romano about it. There wasn't really any other names. Man United really do like Joao Neves. Like, it's not just paper talk. But due to poor business in the past for us, we're in a situation where we can't afford 100 million. And it honestly, it makes me want to tear my hair out when I think, you know, we've spent 80 odd million on Anthony. I mean, imagine putting that 80 odd million towards a Joao Neves instead. Like, honestly, like the business we've done in the past, considering we're going to get Olise in anyway for our right wing, like, what is Anthony's future? We don't even know. Like, that money, like, we could have spent that money on a player that's worthwhile. It's worth spending the money, but we've spent that sort of money so badly in the past that we can't afford to do it when the player, for me, actually seems right and actually seems worth it. For the point that he's at in his career as well. Savage, member for 16 months, says, I don't think any other club can afford Neves except us. I don't think we can afford him either. I don't know, but I'm sort of confident we'll get him. I do think Neves is something to watch out for. I do really think we could, like, it is a real possibility that we could get him. It seems off because we don't have any money. Like, we are broke. But if we sell well, and it's one to keep an eye on, if we can negotiate with Benfica let's put it this way, I'd rather spend 80, 90 million on Joao Neves than 60 million on Onana from Everton. And I know Mark said that this morning, so I don't want to repeat what he's saying, but it's just the truth. Sometimes it's worth overpaying a little bit for the right player. I always come back to the story. We wanted Jack Grealish for Villa wanted 80 million at the time. Ollie really wanted Jack Grealish. Instead, we went and bought Donny van der Beek for 40. Donny van der Beek is, like, let's be honest, it's been a massive failure of a signing. Like, realistically, we either should have just not done anything at all or should have paid the money for the player that Ollie actually wanted at the time. So sometimes it is worth paying a little bit extra, but Man United have to sell well, and we've got so many positions we need to look at that it does feel unlikely. Keith Akers says, watch United divot all summer to get Neves in January or next summer and us not sign a centre mid. Well, that's the thing. If we don't get Joao Neves, which is a high possibility because he's so expensive, and he is our top option, like he's our first choice, but if we don't get him, we'd still have to buy a midfielder because it looks like Casemiro's going to leave. Romano didn't say anything on us potentially signing Amrabat. I don't think we even will sign him, to be honest. I know a lot of people would like to, but doesn't seem to be much noise out around that. So we are going to have to sign a midfielder. It's just who we end up going and getting. A lot of people put in Fofana in the chat. Look, Fofana looks good, but Joao Neves is absolutely like top bracket. Neves is classed as the United wings. Hill Robinson says Anthony will come good next season. I really hope so. But where's he going to play? Like, you've got Olise. We're going to bring, well, I don't want to jinx things because Chelsea could probably beat us to Olise. But our plan is to bring in Olise. Olise is going to be the starting right winger. You've still got Ahmad there, who looks really promising. You know, Garnacho is an absolutely amazing season in terms of nailing down a first-team place. You know, you've got him and Rashford to the left wing. Rashford's going to be back in action. Where's Anthony going to play? That's the question I ask. Marquitos says, the last thing Erik Ten Hag should do is walk away. If he gets fired, he will get a payout, which is the least that he deserves after the way Ineos treated him. That's what I was going to say as well. Like, in terms of Erik Ten Hag, I absolutely would not blame him if he walked away from this, as much as I want him to stay. But it would be stupid for him to do that because he deserves the payout, and, you know, he will get a payout if they sack him. So as much as he's getting disrespected, in terms of if you're looking at the money, he's going to want that payout, surely. Batshah Saraim Kumar says, in your opinion, Beth, can Mainu and Neves play together without a proper six? Seems like we need a good six to play with them. That is a question that a lot of people have, and I would say yes, they could play together in a double pivot. The only thing that worries me is the height situation. I know that was that interview that came out from Kobbie Mainoo saying, you know, I'm actually 6 foot, but people don't realise. But, you know, when Mainoo's on the pitch, he doesn't look tall. I don't know what it is. And I think Joao Neves is around 5'8", if I'm not mistaken. Obviously 19, so he's probably not going to get much taller. I know Martinez dispelled a lot of things about height, but I don't know. Joao Neves, like, he is a number 6. Like, he is a defensive midfielder. And I do really like him. I think they could play together in a double pivot. I think they could. But you'd have to have height elsewhere in the team because height is important in the Premier League. It is really important. On the Southgate stuff, I would just say keep an eye on it, honestly. There's a lot of people out there saying it's scaremongering. From what I have been told, and again, I'm not claiming to have all of these grade A sources, what I have been told for months is that Ineos really like Southgate. It would not surprise me if we continued with Ten Hag. If Southgate did well in the Euros, very, very quickly a change was made at the start of next season if things didn't go to plan, which I don't want to happen either. Like, I want, if the one thing I would say is if we are sticking with Ten Hag, I want to stick with Ten Hag and give him opportunity. If we're not, like, let's go into the new season with a new manager then. What I'm trying to say is whatever manager we have in pre-season, let's go in with it, like believing in that manager and getting behind that project. If you're not wanting Erik Ten Hag for the future, don't keep him. If you are, keep him. It's as simple as that. I mean, it sounds black and white, but that's where we're at. Then on the centre-back situation, obviously, you know, Todibo is very well liked by Erik Ten Hag. Romano said it. Branthwaite's well liked within the club. I think it's a real possibility that we go for Branthwaite, by the way, because I think Ineos really like him. But I think the manager situation, again, clarification. You know, Ten Hag wants Todibo, the new manager might not. That's why Ineos are waiting. And the more we wait, basically, the result of this interview is it's obvious who the targets are. Todibo's a massive target. Branthwaite's a massive target. Sesko's a massive target. Olise is a huge target. You know, Zirkzee is someone that Man United really like. We've got clarification on that finally from Romano. United have targets. Joao Neves is a huge target, obviously. United have targets. But the issue is, we cannot progress with any of these deals without knowing who the manager is. So we're in absolute limbo. We're in complete limbo right now. And it's not a great position to be in when the transfer window opens next week, I think it does, and the Euro starts this weekend, and other clubs are already progressing. Like, yeah, I agree with a lot of people when they say, I don't think Chelsea really have a clue what they're doing. I think Todd Bowley's heart's in the right place, but I think his head's somewhere else. I don't think he gets it, right? But the ambition they have, Romano's just said that they want the majority of their signings to be done before the pre-season. They want them on the pre-season tour. Like, I wish United had that kind of ambition there. That's what you want. That's what you want. I'm not saying I want to be Chelsea because I think they've made some poor decisions, but the ambition's there, and you just want to see a bit of ambition. You want to see some, you know, you want balls to the wall. You want the serious decisions to be made, and I'm not saying rush them, but I want to see a bit of gusto. That's where I'm at right now. Anyway, but thank you everyone for your comments in there. People keep saying you're dreaming about getting Sesko. It's a very real possibility. I do think Arsenal have a better project to offer, but it's a very real possibility. Maradona, member for 13 months. I think they want to frustrate Ten Hag so that he can walk away without a payout. Ineos out. I don't think so. I don't think they. I think they're very, you know, everyone with like a brain knows that Ten Hag's not going to walk away from a potential £9 million payout. Like, why would you? I wouldn't do that. Like, I wouldn't at all. Like, you're disrespecting me. I want that money even more. That's how I'd be like. But anyway, hit a like on the video, everyone. Thank you to Romano for coming on and giving us all of these updates. I think it was a really interesting show, and I think we actually got a lot of clarification on a lot of things. But the manager situation has to be resolved for us to move forward. Get in the comments all of your opinions. Striker, what left back would you go for? Are you interested in Zirkzee? Situation with Sancho and Greenwood as well. They're going. How would you reinvest that money? Is it worth pulling the trigger on Joao Neves, considering the amount of money he would cost? Let me know all your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Any breaking news will be back, and obviously Mark will be back with the 8 PM show later. Have a lovely, lovely Monday, everyone, and I will see you on the next one.